I've got to do the news!
Greetings, comrades. Hope you're well this Thursday, and welcome to the Brews at 10. On my left eye, I'm your humble host, Lefty. How do you brew? We're going to get straight into matters as well with the members list, because we're going to be rushing into a bit of a special-ish stream. Makerfield by-election special on question time. So we're going to be taking a look at that. It's not aired on the P.O.V yet, but it is available on the player, so we're going to have a look. So it is, of course, a hot seat, with Makerfield being the latest hot seat. But first of all, thank you very much to everybody whose names you can see on the screen right now, all the marvellous members. This is the latest updated roster, 134 members now. Thank you for all your contributions, wherever they come from, whether it's buying yourself a membership, gifting to others, super chat, super thanks, and the Buy Me a Coffee page, of course. Thank you very much, people. Peasants Revolts. Revolts first in the charts. Have you changed your avatar? Where's Vic? Bilderberg's here as well, nice to see you. Hypem, Big Jerry, Davinia Robbins, good evening, Ephra Wells. Hope you're all very well this evening.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
I can't remember if I've already asked you to hit thumbs up on this stream, but if I haven't, then please do. And also please give us some hype points if you'll hit thumbs up on some of our recent video content whilst viewing on a mobile device. It has to be on a mobile device for you to give the hype points. So that's pretty much going to be the bulk of the show. Will be question time. And let's get on with it.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it. Get on with it.
On we get and into Makerfield, which is, of course, a current hot seat. Of course, we don't regularly feature question time on my left eye. I know that other channels do, such as No Justice, often in tandem with Kevin Logan as well. So check out those channels if you'd like a more regular approach. But stay here for now, of course. Yeah, it's a rare outing. That is watching question time all the way through. Sometimes use little snippets and things, but it's been a good while since I watched an episode all of the way through. So let's do this together. And there's also going to be a bit of a twist, people. Yes, to make it a bit more tolerable, shall we say. We're going to include the Postman Twat mini game. Regular viewers will know what that's all about. But first up, this is the panel. This is who we're going to be seeing from the session in Makerfield itself, of course. Burnham, of course, Labour. Michael Winstanley of the Tories. Jake Austin from the Liberal Democrats. Our favourite candidate, Sarah Wakefield from the Green Party. And, of course, Robert Kenyon of Reform UK. What is he gonna say next? Or not say? When it comes to being able to quote his own party's policies. Hosted by Fiona Bruce, of course. Regular host. So those are going to be the players. I'll just get this set up. So the by-election itself will be 3 weeks today. In fact, in 3 weeks' time, the polls will just have closed. And it appears that this particular broadcast could be pretty decisive. At the moment, the bookmakers have Burnham as the favourite. With Reform in second place, but we'll have to see if this can affect things. Will the Reform candidate be able to bounce back from his atrocious appearance recently, being interviewed and not being full of answers. Okay, people, almost finished setting up now. Just quick moment. Okay. Should come on screen about now-ish. Just need to make sure I can hear everything. Let's crack on. Can you hear that?
For tonight's question time, we are in Makerfield ahead of one of the most keenly anticipated by-elections in decades. Tonight, for this special programme, this week's audience reflects the wide range of political views and the way people vote across this particular constituency. Welcome to Question Time from Makerfield on the BBC News Channel, iPlayer and Sounds. On the panel, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham. If he wins...
Well, for now.
This by-election, he's widely expected to challenge Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership. He says he's stepping forward to answer a deafening cry for change. Another man with high hopes of winning the seat is Robert Kenyon of Reform UK, a self-employed plumber and former Army reservist. He says it would be a massive honour to represent the area where he was born. The Conservative candidate is Michael Winstanley. He's the former Mayor of Wigan and has served as a councillor here for 16 years. He wants to ease the tax burden on business and revive local high streets. Sarah Wakefield is standing for the Green Party. She is a councillor at Manchester City Council. She says the Greens want to bring hope and joy to the conversation about Makerfield's future. And Jake Austin represents the Liberal Democrats. He is a Stockport councillor and stood as a candidate to be Mayor of Greater Manchester in 2024.
He's an asshole too, sir. Gun is made first class Philip asshole.
And more affordable homes for young people.
So apart from Wakefield, it's all Tories and neolibs, or far right, of course. What a choice.
Good evening. Welcome to our panellists. Welcome to our audience here in Makerfield. Very good to see you. And of course, welcome to you at home. This should be an interesting and possibly quite lively programme. If you want to join in the conversation on social media, which is always lively, feel free. Otherwise, sit back and let's see how it goes. Let's kick off with our first question, which is from Billy Haggerty.
Hi.
And just before the first question, let's get the game set up. Just one moment. Yeah, Davinia, let's, well, fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes with that one. But this is also, we'll see what happens with the intro here, the fourth incarnation of the Postman Swat introduction.
Delivering the plan for change.
Right, so yeah, it's going to be the Postman Swat mini-game, and every time we hear the word deliver, we're going to see Postman Swat there, so it's going to be in the top corner. Oh, actually, just give me 1 second, people. Someone's forgot to put the bell into the... Right, just 1 sec. Okay, sorry about that. You'll hear this noise anytime. Oh, that was loud. Just, we'll turn that down. So yeah, anytime you hear the word deliver. Pretty simple, really. It doesn't affect the Keith's Catchphrases League for anybody who knows what I'm talking about there as well. Let's crack on with this guy, and we'll also keep an eye out for who's going to be the knob end in the audience, and who's going to be the hero, because there's always one and or the other, pretty much. Given the demographic and polling in Makerfield at the moment, yeah, won't surprise me if there's some pretty ridiculous shit out there. Let's go. Question number 1. So anyone can say deliver, by the way. It's not specific to any one person. Anyone on the panel, or even Fiona Bruce, I guess.
How can politicians restore the public's trust and confidence in them, given the scandals, U-turn and broken promises?
All right, well, also I'm going to come to all of you on the panel. Make sure you get a fair shout. Andy, let's start with you.
It's by changing the way we do politics. I can't give you any other answer. And I mean fundamental change. I was in Westminster, as you may remember. Seriously? I did represent part of this constituency. It was in the old Lee constituency, Hindley Green, Bickershaw. Hindley was in. And
he had a go for Gordon and Denson.
I went down there and I was speaking into Parliament. And in the end, it took me a long time to realise that the system just simply was not set up to support places like ours. And it treated us as the bottom of the list rather than the top of the list. And it's the point scoring, isn't it? You know, the kind of whole setup of Westminster. People go to point scoring before they go to problem solving. It's party first rather than place first and people collaborating. And it took me a long time to realise it, but I did realise it. And that's why I left in 2010. I just felt, 2017, I just felt I couldn't do my best for the Northwest and for this part of the world that I care about so much in that system. As Mayor of Greater Manchester, I pioneered a new politics. Place first, not party first. Long term, not short term. Problem solving, not point scoring. Pro-business, working with the community and voluntary sector, getting everybody together, unifying people behind a drive to make Greater Manchester what we all want it to be. Look at us, the fastest growing city region in the country. We've developed a new public transport system. You know, it's amazing what
a giveaway. Do you hear that? Do you hear that?
Start to work like that. And actually, I felt my connection with people has improved. And what I would say is that approach, a more collaborative politics, a more, if you like, long-term approach to solving the country's problems needs to be taken from here, Greater Manchester, and taken down there.
There's
fundamental change.
Nothing in this answer whatsoever, is there?
Now, when it comes to restoring the public's trust, we might as well address this head on because we had a lot of questions about it. In fact, the most questions about you personally were about this, which is that we are having this by-election. This is not a usual by-election. Someone has stood down specifically so that you can stand, and should you win, have a go at getting inside the door of number 10. Let's make no bones about it. Now, a number of you, a lot of you are... But let's...
Well, first of all, no one's considering the fact that he might get rejected at the first hurdle. Also, as I said, he is the bookmaker's favourite at the moment. You have to accept that. But should he win this, and then he fails in the leadership challenge, then what? Then what? It's not just him who's going to look stupid. I think everybody who got behind him in the first place will. And then is he going to say, that's the last time I'm going to have a go at becoming party leader, or is it going to be just a matter of waiting until the next by-election in the Northwest springs up and he'll find some way to try and link himself into the community? He does have genuine links to Makerfield, I have to concede that. But he'd be saying the exact same. Well, he wouldn't be on the panel if he'd won successfully as a candidate in Gorton and Denson. But basically, everything that he said about Makerfield, he would say about Gorton and Denson as well, just sort of cut and paste. That opening statement there was so non-specific. Different kind of boardroom talk. than what Starmer produces, but essentially the same results. You know, basically zero, nothing, vacuous, lacking any substance whatsoever.
Let's hear from some of you who asked about exactly that.
Heady Mr.
Yes.
Jared.
You just said then,
Ogden the Bold, and you again, me
as
again.
an MP for Lee,
Nice
you
to
didn't
see
really
you on
have,
chat.
you couldn't make much change because of the party politics.
Sorry if I missed anyone
so
else
So
there.
what are you actually going to do for the people of Makerfield themselves?
Thanks for the Palestine plugs.
I mean, you have to be hidden under a rock to think maybe you aren't going to go for the leadership against Keir. What changes are you going to make that Labour Party great again?
I mean, I'm making no assumptions about this election. I'm not, because you all know it's tight. You know that. Because you speak to people in your communities. No, but let me answer.
Oh, come on. I'm not buying the sort of modest act that he's trying to put on, for a start. Of course, if he wins, 9 o'clock, day one, he's going to be setting his sights on the leadership challenge. What's going on in Makerfield is going to be second or third fiddle at best, because that's all he'll have his sights set on. And realistically, whether you like Burnham or not, you have to ask just how much he'd be able to get done before the leadership contest happened, how much he'd be able to change in Makerfield. I doubt it'd be very much, to be honest. And again, that applies whether you back him or you don't. That's just the reality of the matter.
You're running, Andy. Let's be clear about that.
Answer the question. I mean, it's an important question. It's not a given, and I don't see it as such. I'm fighting hard because
you counted
to me it
chickens
is
a long
about
time
trying
ago.
to rebuild
You really did.
politics and make it work for people here. And when I was in the cabinet, I had influence and I used it for people here. I got the Lee Sports Village built. We got Bickershaw Marina. I got a young girl who'd been abducted and taken to Libya. I got her back with her mum in Hindley Green. I have always used my political influence for people here. Hillsborough was another example. I've never abandoned this place at all. On Sunday, it's the 25th anniversary of me being an elected Greater Manchester representative, but I know I can't do everything within the system as it currently is. So all I can say to you is, I would take the fight to change politics and change this country as high as I could, so that it worked for here. And it doesn't work for here right now. Look at the flooding problems.
Okay, let me...
But just again, as soon as I think he had a shot at getting into Westminster, that's all he'd be about. You know, the culture of Westminster, as the bubble of Westminster. I can't really, honestly, buy that he's not going to stay true to his roots, if that's what he's claiming. Sorry, just going to change the position of the end of that. Yes, sorry about the low res.
All right, Andy, let me bring in the rest of the panel. Okay.
This place is top of the list, not where Westminster put it, which is bottom of the list.
I will come to you, Michael, but let me bring in the rest of the panel. So, Rob, let's address this question to you. How can politicians restore the public's trust?
I'll just go back to Billy's question about restoring trust. I think a big move away from career politicians would certainly help, and having normal people involved in politics. Andy touches on us being the fastest growing economy.
For the
does anybody in Makerfield feel that we've got the fastest growing economy?
What happened in Southampton?
Or is it all just kept in Manchester? We keep giving our council tax. There's a bigger percentage every year being taken by Manchester. While Manchester thrives, we're struggling to survive in Wigan. We've been left behind. So my point would be, get normal people in politics, people who care about the place, people who live in the place and people who want to stay here and not use it as a stepping stone for other things.
So look, in the interest of fairness, I put to Andy the thing that so many of you said, which is basically, you're doing this election in order to try and get into number 10. The question asked most by the audience
surprised you didn't mention migration at the first opportunity, but there you go.
Made, in particular about women. Now, a number of you put that point. Are any of you...
get to the bones
Can I see from those of you who have said, yes, the woman with the... Did you ask about that? Yes, let's hear what you've got to say.
I'd rather have a career politician than a plumber who's a sexist.
So, Rob, I want to give you a chance to answer that. You know, I want to give you a measure. So just for those of you may not all be aware of things that Rob has said in the past, you described yourself as sexist.
Yeah, before we get into this misogyny thing, sorry, I'm doing my best with the resolution here. yeah, good point. In the chat, Davinia, council tax under reform councils has gone up. I really can't believe that the recent figures that reform within unions are polling very high at the moment. This is the party that wants to abolish the national minimum wage. So that really does shock me. People look past all of this because all they see and all that they have on their minds is boats, 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 because that's all that's been fed to them. That's all they seem to think that they require to, in their eyes, validate their underlying xenophobia. But obviously, it's just they're just zombies, basically. It's quite sad to see as well.
Allegedly.
What, you're denying that was a tweet by you?
No, some of the things not.
Okay, you described yourself as a sexist. You have made offensive comments about women. You've admitted that. You've also said that abortion is the cowardly act of women murdering defenseless baby, and that women do it so they can shag anyone they want. That's your phrase, not mine.
Yeah, he's pretty much the kind of guy who thinks that if a woman isn't in the kitchen, then she should be in the hospital giving birth.
Yeah,
As I say, I'm raising it because lots of people in the audience raise it, and I want to give you a chance to answer.
That's okay, I'll address those questions. So I won't accept that label. I mean, a lot of the things have been said 15 years ago. I hold my hands up, I've made mistakes. And said
the one about abortion was just 2 to 3 years ago.
I'm just addressing the first point where she said, where I was given a label that I won't accept. I was brought up by a single parent, and my grandma, who was a widow, and an older sister. So I was brought up by women. I've got nothing but respect for women.
My mum was a woman. I can't be a
15
sexist.
years ago, dragged up from an old rugby forum. You know, it's...
I was raised by a woman. You know, my mother was a woman.
It's completely taken out of context, and like I say...
BUFU, nice to see you. And, yeah, got a few new people in the chat. A couple of Burks as well. Good evening.
I've made mistakes. I said things years ago that I wouldn't say now, and I definitely don't believe that.
Sorry, I'm just going to try refreshing the browser. See if that helps. Whilst we wait for this to refresh, why not check that you've hit thumbs up on this stream? It's the Brews at 10 quality. Right, we've got to do this a bit of a tricky way.
Ice came with Harry Brooks' half century, but 140 looked a tough score to do.
Now we want this bit here.
But that's just the great bit about democracy.
Back a few months. Right, that seems to have cleared up the picture anyway. That's the good news.
Women, I've got nothing but respect for women. You know, so I think something that's said,
huzzah,
15 years ago, dragged up from an old rugby forum, it's completely taken out of context. And like I say, I've made mistakes. I said things years ago.
It doesn't matter to Mr. Jarrett, he's only watching on 114p anyway. Well,
so I hope that addresses that issue. And it's like I say, I've got nothing but respect for women.
Can I just come on?
That's dedication, Mr. Jarrett.
I actually spoke to Carol Vorderman this morning. She called me because she is really distressed that you have failed to apologise for any of these comments. So you said
about her specifically.
Her specifically, and she is watching at home tonight.
Don't have to pause.
And I wonder if you can look down that camera.
It's a good move from
Carol,
Sarah Wakefield.
You know what? I'm sorry. Can you do that?
You know what?
Nice. That was a nice move.
People have probably seen what's been said, but I never actually said anything to Carol.
Damn right!
I commented on a comment. Okay. Don't get me wrong, it was a disgusting comment that somebody else had written, but I commented on the comment.
With approval?
Okay.
Pardon?
With approval?
No, it was a crass joke, and it's not something I'd say now.
Can I just say,
every
woman in this room and at home has been subject to shaming, whether in person or online.
And that's disgusting. It's horrible, yeah.
I think you're just proving my point. Can you believe this? Honestly, we have all been subjected to it.
It's disgusting, it's horrible, yeah.
Cannot
I've not done it for 15 minutes.
Do a simple apology, I think, is disgraceful. But on top of that, Reform's policies on women are shocking. Right. Reform on day one wants to repeal the equality. That is your party policy.
She's killing it so
I can't believe, as a mum of a young daughter, I'm having to sit here in 2026 and make the case for me and my daughter to have the right for equal pay. This is what the Reform Party stand for. They are a party that has a problem with women and they need to sort it out.
Well, this is not all about you, Spring. I'll let you answer, of course, and then I must come around the rest of the panel.
That's no problem. So we will replace the Equalities Act with the Workplace Fairness Act, and a lot of all those women's protections will carry over into the new Act. Hard-fought women's protections will suffer or be scrapped. They'll all go over, especially with maternity and pregnancy.
Given that you can't apologise, I'm not sure.
I'm going to bring in the rest of the panel because I must give you all a fish out to answer this question. Michael, how can politicians restore the public's trust and confidence in them?
I think the way that they can do that is by judging them on their actions. So when they say things, when they make promises,
we know what that means.
They actually deliver them. And that's how we hold them to account. But that's the great bit about democracy, because actually you have got the right, every single one of you, to vote people out when they don't do what they have said to do. Now, just to come on to Andy's point about how we restore faith in politics, it's not that long ago, Andy, that you were telling everybody that this was the greatest job in the world and that you was going to see out your full term. But we're here halfway.
No Tory ever lied, ever. It's a fact.
Josh was elected as my Member of Parliament here in Makerfield. And I'm actually quite disgusted, really, and sad that we're having this by-election foisted upon us. And you said about putting party first. You are putting your party first. Because, could I just end that one? Because actually, we will get rid of Keir Starmer, whichever politician is elected in this by-election. And actually, if you vote for me, it'll speed it up straight away.
Quickly, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in politics a long time. You and I know each other because we've worked together over a long period of time.
Oh, you work with...
You cannot control events in politics. I can't control what happened in
the
Parliament.
Subsidised bar,
let's not forget, in this borough, 25 council seats went away from the party, and you just can't ignore those things. The public here
all 25
are saying quite loudly to all of us, we need something very different here than what's being served up. And you can't just say, oh well, I don't hear that, I don't see it, and I'm just going to sort of sit where I am. I mean, that's just the reality of politics, Michael, and you have to sort of react to those things as they happen.
It is, but what we're getting served up is more Labour Party. We need a radical change.
Michael,
more Labour Party is the same as more Tory Party, in case you hadn't noticed, Michael. Just interrupting to thank Hedy for 5 gifted memberships. Thank you very much for the support there. Awesome stuff. We'll take the total there to 139. Can we please have some appreciation for Hedy in the chat, please? Big up, big up. Okay. 139 now. Thanks again, Hedy. I really do appreciate that, brother. Nice to see you on stream as always. Back to Burnham.
Michael, let's talk about the Conservatives for a minute, because the question is about restoring trust, and it's quite clear the Conservatives have lost trust after a series of Prime Ministers. How on earth do you begin to restore trust in the audience here after the previous administration?
Yeah, there's no two ways about it that we had a massive defeat in 2024. And part of that process now of going back, and this is what Kemi as leader has started to do. It's only about restoring trust.
We did PMQs yesterday, and all she had was, are you going to cut welfare again? And then what she's done previously, you're not spending enough on defence, and Chagos. That's pretty much it. This is 500 seats down after the last local elections. Need I remind Michael here. But he seems to think that that is enough to invigorate the public spirit. I would have my severe reservations against that prediction.
You've got to accept and own that we made mistakes, and that's what she has done. But now what we're doing is looking forward to make sure that we can oppose what this Labour government is doing to address the things like cost of living, but also setting out a plan about how we're going to deal with things like migration, cost of living, getting things moving again. And that's what I want to talk about at this by-election. I want to talk about the high streets crime, antisocial behaviour and getting rid of congestion across Makerfield, because it's about electing your Member of Parliament. And as someone that lives here, I care about it and I want to deliver on that plan.
All right, I'm going to come to you both to answer this question, but I'm just going to hear a little bit from the audience first. Woman at the back with the glasses, right at the very back.
Hi,
Sue
so
now for Postman Swats and Deliver.
All the time, every week. And
oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you very much.
And I just find that politicians can never answer a question straight. You ask them a question, you never get an answer. And it is so disappointing when Fiona asks you, will you stand, to challenge Keir Starmer, that you cannot say yes, that you will. We all know that you will, so why can't you just say it?
I'll come back to you, Andy, on that. I will come back to you on that. Man here in pink.
Because he's a very, very careful,
really valid point about, as a community, we want a normal person, a real person stepping in and taking charge to make sure the people of our constituency can get ahead in life the best they can.
I'll give him this. He's got a very sly, long game politically. And, well, I guess you've got to have a good long game to stay in politics. Some would say you've just got to genuinely represent your people, of course. But yeah, he gave that impression with the look on his face in the reaction to that question there, I think. Yeah, bit crafty, but for better or worse, we'll leave out for debate.
And I would rather have a community made up of diversity, of women, of LGBT people, of young people, of people with disabilities, than someone like yourself who is sexist and has shown on more than one occasion an opposition to diversity, just as your party does.
Woman here in the jacket.
My question is, why, as Reform, it's close between both of you in the polls, and I want you to win. So
what, you want Andy Burnham to win?
I do.
Right.
I want, the sooner the better that Keir Starmer walks out of Downing Street, the better for me and everybody else. We want him to go. Right. Everybody wants him to go.
Okay. So you're happy to throw your borough to the wolves for the sake of Burnham's career because you think that some sort of greater good. Perhaps this is her long game. She's in agreement with Burnham's long game as well. So there you go. They have a shared vision, it seems, where that's concerned. But she'll be disappointed, just as the rest of us were. It's like we're stuck on repeat, like a stuck record, a scratched record. Now, exactly the same things that this lady is saying about Starmer was said about Sunak. Of course, Liz Truss before him, Johnson before her, May before him, and then Cameron before her. We just get such and such out, and it's not going to be the magic remedy that they think they are, because you just have to look at the fundamental principles, ethics, and politics of each of them instead of getting carried away with the boardroom spiel and buying this promise of change that everyone throws about. But yeah, here we are again.
Oh, we can't stand him, actually. But he's not for the people
just say
anyway.
What you really think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he's not for the people. He doesn't listen. That's his downfall.
And then before that, I bet they said, if we just leave the EU,
my question
everything
is,
will sort itself out.
Having their manifesto, they're going to raise the tax threshold. Why is that not in your manifesto? Because if you put that in your manifesto, you'll walk this by-election easy.
You're right, okay.
You need to put that in your... If not for everybody,
you heard it here.
For pensioners.
Man at the front in the glass.
This by-election has just been called because, basically, Keir Starmer is collateral damage because of the Epstein files. Because Mandelson was in the Epstein files, Keir Starmer knew what he'd done.
Yeah, that's
he'd
one
lied
reason.
to Parliament. He lied to all the MPs, and that's why everybody
There's a lot of
in the
reasons
country
not to like him.
knew he'd lied. Right? He was on TV.
That's a
He
massive
was all over
factor.
when he was in Commons.
Right, OK. All right, I mean, he obviously, Keir Starmer, clearly is not here to answer for himself. He may take a different... Just so you're aware, I mean, Robbie, you could say this perhaps later, but in terms of raising the tax threshold, I think it was to £20,000, that was a reform policy. It's not currently a reform policy.
But
it's an aim, isn't it? But not a current policy.
Yeah, it was in 2024.
Don't ask him. He doesn't know anything about his party's own policies.
Right,
What are you asking him for?
Let me bring the rest of the panel in, because you need to answer these points. So, Jake, let's come to you. Let's answer the question, Billy's question. How can politicians restore the public's trust and confidence in them, given scandals, U-turns, broken promises, etc.?
I think it comes back to so much of what has already been asked in this room tonight.
Yeah, she's
to answer
make
your
Andy great
question
again,
directly
MAGA.
about why isn't there a manifesto in this? It's because this isn't a general election. This is an election for a potential future Prime Minister via the back door, and that's not the right way to be doing politics.
I agree with that.
But
let's let him answer.
So Andy's not releasing a manifesto for this because he's not saying the quiet part out loud. And coming back to what somebody earlier said about...
He's not running for the general election.
All right,
I don't think it was Helen Mirren. No.
You're going to be on the panel in
Right.
a minute. I know, you're gagging. Let's let the panel answer. Jake, go on.
So coming back to what somebody mentioned earlier about honesty being an integral part of politics, now Andy has consistently, we've fought against each other in the 2024 Greater Manchester Mayoral, he's consistently talked a good game about politicians working together to restore trust in politics. But fundamental to that is being honest with residents and constituents. Yet he refuses to say the quiet part out loud, that the reason he asked his mate to step down so he could run in this by-election is not so he could become MP,
deals, yeah.
it's so that he could become the Prime Minister instead.
Oh, of course, yeah. Plus other things in return.
I'm going to let you answer, and also because it was a question from the one at the back. Listen, let's just talk about the Lib Dems for a minute, because it is well known that the Lib Dems wish to rejoin the EU. That is clearly your policy as well, as a Liberal Democrat. You are here in Makerfield campaigning for people's trust, but I think it was 67%, something like that, of people in Makerfield voted to 65, voted to leave. So how can you...
I'll ask them now.
Look, when I'm knocking on doors in Makerfield and I'm talking to voters, they are not bringing up Brexit or rejoining the EU or revisiting a vote that we held 10 years ago. That's not what I'm about, and the Liberal Democrat plan isn't about rejoining the European Union. Yes, we want...
It's a clearly stated aim.
No, our aims as Liberal Democrats is to have a closer tie to the European Union in the forms of a customs union.
Wow.
Because that brings an extra £25 billion back into the economy on a yearly basis, generated through revenue, by having those closer ties with the European Union.
Oh, yeah, but I bet if you happen to be in conversation with or on the doorstep of someone who wants to wholesale rejoin the EU, that you play a different tune, that, oh, yeah, we're all for that, depending on who you're talking to. But now, because you're in Makerfield and they voted, whatever the percentage was, quite heavily voted to leave the EU, you're doing this script instead. Yeah, but if you poll the people of Makerfield now as to whether they thought it had been a good idea and whether we felt the benefits, I think you might get a slightly different result.
That £25 billion could do a hell of a lot of good stuff in our constituency. It could revitalise our high streets. It could help us cut the cost of living. It could help with building flooding infrastructure, which is desperately needed in places like Hindley and across the Makerfield constituency. The reason that we want as Liberal Democrats closer ties with the European Union, not to rejoin, but a customs union, is because we know the economic benefits that would bring back to Makerfield and places like this that, frankly, so far have been left behind by Westminster.
OK, Sarah, your turn. How can politicians restore the public's trust and confidence in them?
So I only really recently got involved in politics in this way. I'm actually on maternity leave at the moment. And
well, we're very glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness.
And it was
I didn't know that.
the last by-election that was called in Greater Manchester that got me involved. And I realised that there is no one else coming to save us. If you have an opinion about what we should do as a country, you have to get involved. And I think we've just seen on the panel here exactly the problem that people have with trust and confidence, because we're all knocking points off each other, trying to say that we're more honest than that person, when actually fundamental problem we have in this country is that we're building on 40 years of deindustrialisation, topped off by 15 years of austerity, which, to be perfectly honest, the Labour government haven't done enough to address. And we're all feeling it. And we're all feeling the squeeze. We're all feeling the pinch. But you know what we should be really looking at is the massive inequality in this country. 50 of the wealthiest families in this country hold more
50%.
wealth than 50%.
Yeah.
That's 34 million people. That cannot be right. And so as the Green Party, one of the things we want to say, it's not just about
It's disgusting.
culture in
It should
Westminster,
literally
because I'm
be
afraid
revolting.
If we just change Westminster culture, we're not going to change the country. We need to start having serious conversations about who is contributing for a better future for our children.
Eddie, nice to see you.
Solve the climate crisis.
Thanks for joining us on the stream. See you again soon, brother. Have a good evening.
The money back in towns and villages so that our young people stay here and work hard and have better lives. So that's what we're all about, is going, let's not just think about Westminster culture that politicians are obsessed with, think properly about the solutions that we need in this country.
Hear, hear.
The question being from Billy about restoring trust and public confidence. Let's just talk about the Green Party record for a minute. So there was a candidate who was going to be... It's part of the reason why you've had to jump in on your maternity leave. There was another candidate who withdrew after 12 hours. And initially, we were told it was for family and personal reasons. Lo and behold, journalists found out the next day that entirely unacceptable comments had been made about the attack on Golders Green on ambulances, where the candidate described it as a false flag attack, i.e. done by either Israel or Jewish people to try and make it look like it was done by somebody else.
Well, come on. We even posed that question ourselves on the channel. Yeah, but the point to that was, of course, the Prime Minister and the mainstream media's knee-jerk reaction before the facts had been established, especially compared to other cases that they report on, vis-a-vis an essentially pro-Israel, obvious pro-Israel bias. Well, Sarah Wakefield isn't the candidate, obviously. She's not there to speak for the former candidate. What was his name? Was Christian or Chris something? Was it? I believe. But that's not what Sarah's there for. I think, having just given a really good answer there, I think Fiona Bruce is responding to the earpiece now and trying to undermine her somewhat.
Yes, and there have been numerous anti-Semitic comments made by Green candidates.
No, they haven't.
How does that restore trust and confidence?
We have to be really clear that anti-Semitism...
And of course there was this ludicrous report out today concerning the NHS, and they're trying to ban political badges and things like this. Essentially, this is anti-Palestinian, and again trying to conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, which I think Sarah Wakefield here is about to explain the difference. But hopefully people will see sense, and there'll be severe scrutiny or cancellation of these recommendations. Oh, by the way, it's a very broad and blanket term, political symbols, but it was put to, what's his name? His name's Mann, M-A-N-N. Sorry, I've forgotten the first name. But it was put to him as to whether people would still be able to wear religious things, and he said that a crucifix or a Star of David would be okay, pretty much, but everything else is right out. Yeah. As obvious a setup as you'll ever see.
Has absolutely no part and no place in the Green Party.
Palestinians are Semites as well, of course.
And that has been extremely clear about that as well. And we have to make sure that those few handful of people are dealt with, that our vetting process is improved, and that we ensure that people can trust the people
Graham,
that we are putting in front of them.
Completely agree.
So I just want to come back to Rob. I know you want to come in, but I'm going to try and get other questions in as well. But lots of people have talked about, Andy, you talked about it at the back, and I want to make sure your question gets answered, which is, why don't you just Say it straight out. I am campaigning for the election. OK, you want to be MP for Makerfield, but you want to get into number 10. This is your moment. Just quickly, because I want to move on.
Well,
come on. This is the time.
I'm not somebody who gets ahead of myself.
Answer the frigging question, Burnham.
I'm lucky enough to get the support of people here. But if
Answer
I
the
get
question.
Your support, I would seek to represent you at the highest possible level.
No,
and
you
give this
wouldn't.
Constituency maximum
Bollocks.
power and influence. I think Wes Streeting seems
Bollocks.
to launched a leadership contest. So if that is running, I would seek to join it. But I'd have to persuade members of the Parliamentary Labour Party to do the same. So that's the honest answer. And on the personal allowance, I've heard it on so many doorsteps, and I've said to my team, let's have a proper look at this and let's develop a policy.
All right, I'm going to move on. But before I do, I just want to say that, of course,
That's
there
not
are
answering the question.
other candidates. You've heard from 5 candidates on this panel. There are 14
Oh yes, Count
candidates in
Binface.
total, and
You
there
might
is a
have
full list of them on the screen for
seen
everyone
there.
to see.
Count Binface was a bit sore at not being on the panel. I think I saw on his social media yesterday it was probably because of him slugging off Fiona Brews and Question Time repeatedly, specifically around the number of times that Farage has appeared. What is it now? 37, 38 times? Something like that. Yeah, but I certainly wouldn't have minded seeing Binface on the panel. I'll just skip back there. Because there was
Other candidates you've heard.
I've forgotten the name of the Monster Raving Looney Party candidate as
on
well.
this panel. There are 14 candidates in total.
Alan Howling Lord Hope from the official Monster Raving Looney Party.
And there is a full list of them on the screen for everyone to see. Let's take another question. After what we've just talked about now, this was the most commonly asked question. So we're going to tackle it. Kath Rishton, where are you sitting? There you go.
In the light of the horrific news regarding the murder of Henry Novak, are we now in a 2-tier policing policy?
So I'm sure none of you need telling, but 18-year-old
This
Henry
would
Novak
inevitably
was
come up,
murdered
I think.
by Vikram Digwa in December last year in Southampton. The police turned up on the scene. They mistakenly believed that Henry was the attacker and not Vikram Digwa, and they handcuffed him as he lay dying on the ground. And it has caused outrage universally, I would say, across this country. A number of politicians, Reform and Conservatives in particular, have said it is an example of 2-tier policing. Michael, is it?
The first thing I wanted to say was, having watched that footage, it was just heartbreaking and appalling that Henry's last words on earth were, you know, I can't.
Sorry, I just want to reiterate what I said on yesterday's stream. I really hope that this one example of very bad policing, of course, this should not have happened. It is, of course, the officer and the culprit, of course, who carried out the offence, who are wholly responsible for this. But how can I put this? I just really, really hope that this doesn't lead to some sort of fundamental change in policing, because this is almost like, you know, every Reform candidate's wet dream. Well, I say almost. One thing that has been awful, of course, the perpetrator was a Sikh man, yet the far right are trying to use this to condemn black people and Muslims, because that's just the way that they are. This police officer has a lot to answer for. But certainly will not entertain the idea of phrases like too much anti-racism being thrown around.
Breathed, and he was actually under arrest. It was absolutely appalling. But I think we need to make sure that we have calm heads in this as we debate this. It's really important that we respect the wishes of the family who've behaved exemplary as they've approached this, and obviously our sympathies are with them. And what we need to do is to make sure that anger can't tear our communities apart. But we need to make sure that the police are operating without fear or favour. That was always the watchword of the police, and we need to make sure we get to that again. We need to make sure this independent inquiry concludes as quickly as possible, and then any of those recommendations are put in swiftly. I've heard too many times over lessons have been learnt and we're not going to do this again. This has got to be the moment for change. We cannot have this again, and that's what every single politician should be working towards.
Rob.
Yep. Yeah, great point, Michael. And it was
okay,
absolutely
here he goes.
if anyone's seen the body cam footage, it's heartbreaking to see that. It's totally, you know, disgraceful what's going on up and down in the country.
What do you mean by that?
You know, with the knife crime that's affecting the country, you know, violence is never the answer. You know, like
it's
Michael
down,
said,
isn't it?
The parents need.
Same way immigration's down.
Need to be kept, and we need to, not gather, and violence is never the answer, like we seen the other night in Southampton. But I think it just goes to show that there is a two-tier policing system in this country. I think it's
sick of this phrase, I really am.
That unfortunately, the accusations of racism has been taken more serious than.
Like I've said, if there's any sort of bias which the phrase two-tier policing obviously hints at, then it's where protest is concerned, and how the far-right yobbos, led by Yaxley Lennon, who was one of the instigators of what happened in Southampton, get away scot-free with their appalling behaviour, but we still see peaceful protesters, vigil, placard holders arrested and labelled as terrorists. Yeah, there is certainly a bias, but the term two-tier policing, where the right are concerned, they use that to specifically mean in relation to race or ethnicity, which is, of course, not the way that it is. That's not the reality, the way that the far right are trying to frame it.
Cries for help from a dying lad who was said he couldn't breathe, and he'd been stabbed.
It is awful what happened to this
poor man. Green Party
man.
politics, I think it make the country a hell of a lot more dangerous with drugs on the streets.
Just don't want to see people like this trying to exploit that, because that's revolting as well.
What, are the Green Party suggesting no prisons?
One of them did in Scotland,
nope.
I think it was, who was trying to scrap the prison.
Yeah,
I think it was.
That's ridiculous.
One of the Green candidates in Scotland.
Right.
You can't say that.
I think it'd be a lot more dangerous under the Green Party.
That was the biggest load of crap I've ever heard!
Rob, I know you want to come in on this point. Your leader's comment, I suggest the rest of us respond to this with pure, cold rage.
I mean, with that one...
Do you support that comment?
I think...
That's incitement.
What I would say is...
That is incitement.
Anyone who's watched the video
There's no other way of putting it.
Police officer, if anyone's got sons, relatives who are, teenagers going out and about on the town, watch that body cam footage and tell me that you don't feel rage.
No. Robert, feeling rage, and what do you think? The things I see on my social media feed every single day don't fill me with rage. This is just one of many examples, as tragic as it is and as tragic as that fact is. But the way that those hooligans responded in Southampton is unjustifiable. Whatever you think of the body cam footage, it doesn't justify that sort of behaviour. Because all Farage did was pick up a massive dog whistle, take a deep breath, and that was it. They were straight down there.
One of your sons and daughters in the streets, unless we get a grip on this two-tier policing that we've witnessed over the last couple of years under this Labour government.
Okay. Let's hear from some people in the audience. This man there with a sort of colourful shirt and glasses, yeah.
Surely policing should be done on the law of the land, not on religion or race.
Okay. Man there with the glasses.
I'm a doctor in the NHS, and I volunteer for a charity called Street Doctors, where we work with young people all across the country, including in schools in this constituency, including in Hindley Prison. And we train young people in, you know, how to save a life if someone's been stabbed and things like that. So I've seen firsthand the impacts that violence has, both in our schools, in our prisons and in our hospitals. What would you do to reduce violence in the first place and prevent young people from being victims and perpetrators of violence?
Okay, I'm just going to get around the corner. It's one there in the spotty top.
I'd just like to ask, in terms of Nigel Farage not condemning the violence that went on the other evening, would Rob Kerr too condemn it this evening?
Okay, let me just briefly allow you to.
Yeah, he should.
If you want to. You're being asked, do you want to condemn the violence that took place in Southampton?
Condemn it. 100% condemn the violence. Violence is not the answer to this. What we need to do is make sure we do it politically, and we reforms policies to get 30,000 extra police officers on the streets.
You condemn Nigel Farage.
And ban knives, regardless of religious background. That we ban knives completely.
They're already banned.
Could you mind if I bring other people to give?
And if reform come into government, we're going to make murder illegal.
I mean, just because so many people got their hands up. Yes, the woman there with the glasses in the green and white top. Yeah.
I think people should be enraged with what's happened, but not particularly to that specific crime. More in what policies led to that behaviour.
And what have you got in mind?
Well, the police, for start off, the training of the police, the underlying training of overlooking, too much DEI going on.
By which you mean diversity, inclusion, equality.
Yeah.
Too much DEI going
policing
on.
Policing and justice should be done no matter who
See,
you
here we
are,
go.
what you are, how you look, what your beliefs are. You should all be...
Going very quickly again. I can't think of any sort of person who would call for less anti-racism than a racist. And I'm not going to hear genuine concerns this or whatever. There must only be one type of person who wants less anti-racism. It's the same with Antifa, isn't it? It's that kind of thing. If you're anti-Antifa, then you must be pro-fa. Shh.
Judged on what you do.
Okay. So, Andy, do we now have a two-tier policing policy?
Not in Greater Manchester, and I'm going to come on to explain why not.
But what about nationally?
I thought Michael...
Because this obviously didn't take place in Greater Manchester.
Question, Fiona.
That is the question.
Michael spoke really well, by the way, as has Kemi Badenoch this week. But let me explain why I say about Greater Manchester.
Well, actually...
5 years ago, I appointed...
As appalling as this case was, this is supposed to be about Makerfield, is it not? I'm not obviously I'm not trying to be insensitive in how awful it was for Novak and his family. But just the fact that he wanted to mention Greater Manchester, who he represents, and if he's answering that question, then surely he has to respond from his point of view, which is, and I'm, again, not really sticking up for Burnham here, but just Bruce's reaction there, like, so, well, how dare you slight my question, and we'll see how much longer they go on for this before they try and bring it back down to local issues.
To the new Chief Constable, Sir Stephen Watson, and I think he's the outstanding police leader of his generation, and he said to me when he was appointed that he wanted to avoid any perception of two-tier because he felt this was a risk to policing in the times that we are living, and very much what the lady said. People should be treated equally in front of the police and the law, shouldn't they?
Opinion on
and that's what it should
national
absolutely be about. Early in his tenure, he said to me, I want to phase out rainbow cars. He said to a newspaper, I will never take the knee. And there was a backlash, but I supported him because I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to make sure the police were seen as neutral, serving all communities. And therefore, I backed him. But then he went on to do what he said he would do, like politicians don't do sometimes, Michael. He said he would double the number of arrests. He has done. He said he would detect more crimes. He has done. he said he would get crime down. It is down in Greater Manchester. Knife crime is down in Greater Manchester. And then the interesting thing is confidence. I'm not saying
well,
that
the question was about the policing method instead of the overall sort of stats or efficacy. It's, again, a bit far from the actual question,
that needs to be applied
which is a bit of a bullshit
in
question
terms of
as well.
stepping back from this possibility.
If I'm being honest, got to be fair.
As two-tier. And I think it's right that the government are reviewing this guidance, because I don't think this guidance that was issued related to the police race action plan has got it right. So, you know, Mark Novak said in his speech, and I've watched it all a couple of times, that there needs to be a common sense approach to law and order. And that is what we have done in Greater Manchester Police. But he also said that there shouldn't be tension and division. I'm Mayor of Greater Manchester. I know my words have consequences. All politicians do. If you give a preordained statement at 8 o'clock in the morning, believe me, you are well aware of what you say and what might happen later in that day. Those consequences were seen on the streets of Southampton, and the ringleaders of that violence used exactly the same words as the leader of the Reform Party when they were orchestrating that violence. And this is a big question that comes to the heart of this by-election. Honestly, do we want to carry on as Britain down this path towards a politics like the United States of America, where if people vote different ways, they won't talk to each other and they won't have any relationship with each other? Or do we want to be true to Britain and still live in a country where we work to find common ground, we work to come together and work to tackle issues like difficult issues like this together? I know what I believe in, and I believe in the latter, and that is what I am standing for in this by-election. But make no mistake, we cannot carry on just thinking that things aren't changing and it's all okay. It isn't okay. We must pull back from this type of politics, this poison dripping into our streets. Rob, to be fair, is right. The answer to violence can never be violence against the police, but that's what we saw on Tuesday night. And this is a moment for the country to step back from that and start finding common ground again.
Because look at the sort of people who that was
so would you support, if everyone's being treated fairly and equally, would you support a ban on people carrying knives for religious reasons? I didn't know people were allowed to until the other day.
I think there's a case to look at that again. There was an exemption, wasn't there, for the Sikh religion, because it is a very important part of their faith. But in a world where, you know, we do have serious challenges with knife crime.
This is the thing, because the offender, a Sikh man, had what he would describe as a religious ceremonial sword, which is obviously a tradition, but in the modern sense would be viewed as an offensive weapon. And in fact, it was used as one, unfortunately, with fatal consequences as well. This does raise a pretty hot political potato, to be honest, where traditional Sikh dress is concerned. But let me know your thoughts on that one in the chat, please, people.
I think it needs to be looked at, although it needs a very careful debate, is what I would say.
Man there in the t-shirt, yeah.
So Robert, you said you're getting 30,000 more police officers on the streets. Where are you getting these 30,000 people from? Look at the situations you're putting them in. Who's going to train them up? How long is it going to take to get them trained through, vetted on the streets?
And the factory appears.
These will be people in the community at the minute,
just basically mass
possibly looking to go into the police. 30,000, I think it's quite a lot. I think it'll take far too long to get them all through on the streets, and I don't think anyone will put the hand up to go and be a police officer anymore.
Okay. Briefly,
Yeah, just to answer that, that'll be over the term of the Parliament. So if we were elected at the next general election over the next 4 or 5 years, that will be the target. When you say where they're coming from, you know, that'd be a problem for whoever is recruiting them. I mean, I want to focus on Makerfield. You know what I mean? I want to focus on Makerfield, not national politics, like where we're going to get 30,000 people.
People in the audience have got, I don't know, 20-year-olds now. They're growing up. They're looking for education. They're looking for employment. Would you be happy to send someone like that into the police at the stage of the country at the minute?
Well, I think ex-military, you know, when they come out of the military, would be absolutely perfect to be joining the police. So that's probably something that we'd look at.
He's police numbers in Greater Manchester are up, apparently. Just so you know, we have recruited a lot more police. They're back
all right, Andy.
2010.
Get you know.
Let me let the rest of the panel in. I know obviously you want to speak. Jake, do we now have a two-tier
I guess anybody
policy?
Anybody who does have kids who are old enough to join the police, tell them, going out there and arrest some old ladies and disabled people for holding a silent vigil. So proud. We'll frame the picture and look at it with teary eyes every hour of the day. Go on, get out there, do it, Offspring. You go.
I want to touch on some of the points that have been raised here, including that one. Okay. And one of the reasons that police have been under so much strain for so many years because of successive cuts to police forces across the country, including local police forces and community police forces. One of the plans for the Liberal Democrats is to restore some of that community policing back into our local communities, so that police can feel connected to their area, so that we can see more police on the streets connected to the people that they represent and the people that they protect. Because trust in the policing system is just as important as restoring the finances back into the policing system. That's what I want to see from a Liberal Democrat plan. But to touch on some of the points that have already been made, Michael, I think, spoke really, really well earlier when he talked.
Sorry, it just popped into my head as well. I can't remember the figure that the Tories aimed for with police numbers, or how ludicrously far behind the target they got. But if you can remember the stats off the top of your head, 20,000 is a number that's sounding familiar to me, at least, if it was something like that. But I can't remember the actual figure that they achieved. Of course, the Tories being the Tories always like to cook the books. Do you remember Matt Hancock's 40 new hospitals as well? That's the sort of thing that we had then. I guess it's kind of the same thing that we have now, unfortunately. Britain, 26.
Talked about this case in general. People expect us as politicians, when something tragic and harrowing like this happens, to come together and figure out a solution, regardless of our political differences, knock our heads together and figure out what's going on and solve the problem. And to be fair to almost all parties around this table, that has been what has happened, and that's what we've seen from our politics so far. Unfortunately, for one party around this table, with Nigel Farage, we haven't. We've seen instead an opportunity, as he always takes, to drive more fear and division within our communities and politicise something when the parents of Henry specifically asked for that not to happen. And I think that is absolutely disgraceful.
Sarah. Two-tier policing policy.
So I completely agree with Jake and what my colleagues around the table have said about this being an absolutely unbelievable tragedy. And I think when it comes to the cast question about two-tier policing, we have to be really careful, because we know that the police have lots of problems over the last few years. We still haven't seen the results of what's happened with the Sarah Everard inquiry. We know that if you're black, you're 2 times more likely to be arrested, 4 times more likely to be stopped and searched. These are really serious issues we should be looking at, and we really welcome the structural review that Labour is doing on police at the moment, because we do believe that things need to change. But I also want to just make this point about safety, because it's the first job of politicians to ensure that we live in a country that feels safe, and that is about supporting and resourcing the police and others in the right way. And when we have divisive language used like that, it's not just Henry's parents that are worried about their son, and it's every single
we'll just Sarah, carry on.
Parent of a son, a daughter who's worried, and calling them up and saying, make sure you take the safe way home tonight, make sure you're with a friend, because we don't know what's going to happen on our streets. And I know for a fact that friends and neighbours are having those conversations with their children. And that is something I do not believe we stand for as a country. I believe we are a country that is tolerant, that welcomes our diversity, and that is something we should all be really proud of, and not let moments like this divide us.
Okay. All right, I'm going to squeeze in another question from Suzanne Worthington. Where are you?
Just before that, that was really well said there from Sarah. And of course, 20,000 was the number that was cut, the number of police that was cut by the Tories. And then any time that they would turn around and say, "Oh look, we've put 5,000 police officers on the streets, even though it's a negative net loss of 15,000. In that case, they tried to make it a positive. I knew the number 20,000 was significant there, but I can't remember however many it was. Yeah, and 5 brigades and a lot of other things as well. The bastards. Let's hear this next question. I think they're getting towards the end of things here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, with lots more houses and warehouses planned for local green belt. Why is this when it impacts, local nature and flood defences?
So certainly there are plans to build thousands of new homes in this area, warehouses too. I mean, looking at all the different plans in different places, it's a lot. Why do they have to be built here, and how does that, when it affects nature and flood defences, as you say? Rob?
Thanks. Great question, that, because it's something I've been right behind, especially the 400 houses in Winstanley, just behind Springpool. That's something that we're going against, because it's an extra 1,000 people living in Winstanley, extra 1,000 people using the shops, the doctors, the dentists, the roads. We haven't got the infrastructure, so that's something we're against. I know there's another development in Hinley that also goes through Greenbelt. 2,000 to 4,000 houses
environmental impacts.
Again, we're against.
Or do you not want to sound
through the
too
old
woke,
Turners factory
Roberts?
with all the asbestos that's contaminated the land. So something that happened at Marris Bridge, Junction 25. There's a big green belt grab that happened there. It came under the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework. It's now called Places for People. And what happens is that was a bit of a big green belt grab that was also the Wigan Council's control. It was coming from, the Greater Manchester.
Yeah, they are saying green belt.
Originally Greater Manchester Spatial Framework. But we all campaigned against that, because that's top quality farming land. There's been, sheep on there for donkey's years near the Sainsbury's. And that's going to get turned into a DB symmetry development. It's going to be big, massive warehouses. And like I say, it's something I'm passionately against. I'm passionately for saving Greenbelt in Makerfield.
I mean, this is a topic we deal with a lot on Question Time, and every time we do, there's lots of questions about it. And I have to say, generally when we have MPs on the panel, every one of them has protested against building in their area, but is very keen for it to happen elsewhere. So look, Rob, I'm going to ask you, you're against that particular planning development. Do you agree that there is a housing shortage? And if so, how do we tackle it without building on some greenbelt land and offending people who don't want it in, to use a phrase, in their backyard?
Well, I think we all know that immigration and house building hasn't kept up. So immigration has puts a big strain, especially on housing. Because if you get an extra 10 million people coming into the country in a short period of time, you're going to have the demand for housing, and renting houses is going to go through the roof. So your rental prices go up, housing demand goes up, house prices go up. People can't buy a house who are just getting on the property ladder at the start. So for me, immigration plays a massive part in the demand for new houses.
But sure, the people are already here, and you're not suggesting chucking them all out, all 10 million. So how do you plan to?
Plumbing contracts.
What do you think the answer?
Well, what we do is building on brownfield sites, prioritising brownfield sites first and foremost, because, like I say, once the green belt's gone, it's gone. People build on green belt because it's cheaper, because you don't need to do any studies of what was there previously. Nothing's been there. It's virgin territory. So instead of going where there's been an old warehouse or an old industrial estate, so I'd prioritise building on brownfield sites.
Jake.
So this is always a really interesting discussion to have, because it feels like whenever we discuss housing and green belt issues, us as politicians, and I'm sure people in the audience as well, feel like they're being put in one of two camps. You're either a NIMBY that wants to be against all housing on any greenbelt whatsoever, or you're a YIMBY who wants to build all over the place, regardless of the consequences. That is not how this is. Like, this is a much more nuanced argument that we need to have about how we solve our housing crisis, because absolutely there is a housing crisis.
2 million empty properties,
Me and my husband
there
are in a lucky position where we did a few years ago manage to buy our first house, but we had to work damn hard to be able to make sure we did. And I know that for future generations, people in 5-10 years, even now, That is a massive struggle, and it's practically unobtainable for them. So yes, we need to build houses. Yes, we should be prioritising brownfield first, but we also need to have an honest conversation with people. Goes back to what somebody was mentioning earlier about honesty and answering the question properly. Sometimes that is going to require occasional development on a greenbelt site, because we do need housing for it. But it's got to be balanced. We can't just concrete all over. We are blessed in Makerfield and across Greater Manchester with many wonderful greenbelt sites. We need to protect as many of them as possible.
Modern,
but some of them, we are going to have to potentially use some of them for developments to make sure that our children and the people of the future are going to be able to afford to buy a home.
So Rob mentioned the 400 houses on Springpool.
Safe
I am actually
as well,
live
course.
on Springpool. Kingswood Homes, who are doing the development, speak of affordable housing. However, that housing is from a private company. It will not be affordable. What we actually need is more council housing as affordable homes. Obviously, Andy spoke about regenerating the town centre as he did in Stockport, and I think that's a really great idea, because at the end of the day, it's not necessarily affordable housing is just exploiting an existing Labour scheme in order to make more money. It's not actually for the people. Affordable housing isn't for the people. We need council housing. Thatcher sold off a lot of the council housing, and we need that back, really. But where do we put it is the issue, and I think Andy makes a great point. Put it in the town centre, you'll regenerate the town centre, especially something that Wigan needs.
Underlying problem, Thatcher allowed people to purchase existing council houses to become property owners, get on the so-called property ladder. I hate that term as well, but there you go. But didn't replace them like for like. Neither did John Major, neither did Tony Blair, neither did, although arguably, yes, if you want to be statistically realistic, Tony Blair built the most, but Blair and all through the Tories, of course, it's been the same. And it's been behind since neoliberalism really kicked in under Thatcher, which was a very long time ago, by the way.
And at the very back in the check shirt. Yes, you at the very back.
How can politicians that are yes in my backyard about building houses, how can they be like that when in Makerfield, Ashton Town Centre, you will see that there's a big traffic problem. It's quite difficult. How can we build these houses but have sustainable traffic, make it easy to get around places?
Right, so you're saying if you build in the town centre, it'll make it more difficult. That's what you're saying. You're saying if you build in the town centres, it will make it more difficult. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's already quite bad, the traffic around Ashton Town Centre.
Let's hear from the woman in front of you in the glasses.
Well, apparently this is the thing
Rob,
a lot of people do drive.
What worries me is that
Makerfield.
we've heard a few times now that people say we'll build on brownfield sites. But your boss, Nigel Farage,
I don't think you should pander
took a
to that.
£5 million payment from
basically
a crypto billionaire. Lots and lots of, suddenly he's a reformer, a party for cryptocurrency. How are we to trust that you and your party wouldn't sell this off to the highest bidder when you have got a leader who runs your party who will say up the IRA for £80? I think it's shameful.
Okay, I have to say, I have no idea if he said up the IRA for £80. I don't know if you do, Rob.
He did, yeah.
Apparently he did. Let me just give.
Yeah, he was duped into it by using the nickname Ra, and he said up the Ra and held a drink to them. I can't remember what it was for, but it was on Cameo, of course. The guy who says he can't be bought has a Cameo account where you can literally get him to almost say anything. He also did a tribute to Ian Watkins when there was another prank, and of course the famous one, which I brought up fairly recently, I think, as well, the Hugh Janus one. So yeah, they happened. They were a thing, as the look on Rob's face seems to illustrate as he's realising at that very moment.
Give you a chance to answer that.
Yeah, so with regards to the 5 million, that's going to Parliament, so they're going to decide on, whether there's anything wrong in it. So it's something that
they're going to decide anyway.
With regards to Greenbelt,
yeah, 5 million.
I don't want any Greenbelt being spoilt. There's already the M6 that goes past that's knocking out, fumes that's going past. We've got the East Lancs as well. We need to protect our green spaces.
Grifted.
You know, it's
Cheech,
one of
nice
the
to see
reasons
you,
I got
Joe.
involved in politics is to protect green spaces. And it was the Junction 25 developments where DB Symmetry, building houses at Marris Bridge, that has got me into politics first and foremost, to throw me
Sorry
into
about the lagging
so
of the
that's
chat.
an hill I'll die on,
Deal with this.
protecting Greenbelt.
All right, we have got a hell of a lot of time left, so I just want to make sure I get you all in. Yeah, no, you will get to answer, but just perhaps not an enormous length. Yes, Michael.
Thank you. The gentleman's absolutely right, because I live in Ashton. I know what the problems that we have there. And the problem that we've had over years and years and years, that we've had development after development after development, but yet no infrastructure to go with that. And we need to make sure that we put the infrastructure in first before we have the development. So if we don't have the infrastructure, it's roads that get clogged up, it's the drainage system, it's doctor's appointments, it's schools places, it's all those things. And our infrastructure is the same as it was pretty much when I was born about 55 years ago, not 60. So that's the problem. We do need to prioritise Brainfield sites first. And the other thing was
do you believe, as Jake does,
being
that
Tory
there will have to be
ages
some
you.
building on Greenbelt?
But that should be the last possible resort if that's the case.
And
but
with the infrastructure.
I want to make sure that we protect it at all costs. Places for everyone. When I was a councillor, we didn't even get a vote on that. That was decided at cabinet
You might need to explain places for everyone, though.
So this was the spatial strategy that came from the combined authority that was signed off by all 10 districts, and they had to agree across the 10 districts, and there was horse trading on where different parts would go. But as a backbench councillor, we never got a vote on that. That was decided by the Labour cabinet here in Wigan. So much for democracy.
And I know you want to speak. I'm just going to be Sarah, and then I promise I'm going to come to you. Sarah.
Yeah, so of course we want to protect as much of our green belt as possible. This area is incredibly beautiful. It's absolutely amazing. And what we need is the right houses at the right price in the right place, which is simply not what developers are being incentivised to do at the moment, because they are being incentivised to build, 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 build. So we agree we need more council houses, 150,000 more council houses, end right to buy, make sure that councils can keep those homes where they need to be.
You want to end right to buy completely?
That's in our manifesto.
Great aspiration for people.
Yeah. Well,
but one thing I do want to say is that the idea of blaming our housing crisis on immigration is absolutely wild to me, actually.
That says more about you, because we've got an extra 10, 20 million people come in the country.
Do you think that if... Do you think that
do you not think an extra 10 million people is going to have an effect on housing?
Do you think that if we lock down our borders, we're going to solve the housing?
It's the housing market and it's estate agents that are the problem. The fact that a house is treated like a commodity as opposed to what it should be, which is a given right. Everybody deserves to have at least, a basic roof over their head, at least. We can do that, and it's a political decision not to, as it is with so many other things. Don't try and lay the blame at the feet of migrants. Problems coming by private jet and travels round by limousine and helicopter.
Housing crisis. Is that going to solve it?
The thing is, the more people you have in a country, the more houses you're going to need. I know it might sound...
He's really good at explaining things like this, isn't he?
She's calling him out on a bit of mansplaining there.
Using immigration on the issue of housing, I think, is absolutely...
Are you saying it has no impact on housing?
Good.
I think Andy wanted to come in.
Do you want to just answer that question, Rob? Do you think it has no impact on
immigration have an effect on housing?
Whoever lives in this country has an impact on housing, of course.
All right.
The numbers of people in a country. That's not necessarily to do with immigration.
Let me let Andy answer this question. So I just want to say incidentally about this business about Nigel Farage and saying up the IRA. He says he was tricked into doing that. That was not something that he would.
Just explain that, Fiona.
I'm just saying he's not here to defend himself. And as always on this panel, if an accusation is made against someone, it is my job to make sure that they get fair representation. So, Andy.
Yeah.
Lots more houses, that's the case. Lots and lots, thousands. Why do they have to be built on Greenbelt when it impacts nature and flood defences?
Well, I've been saying in this election that we need to change Labour, but that applies locally as well. And I do think Wigan needs to rethink its approach to planning and regeneration.
Zombie party.
Less of the burden of development on Greenfield and exactly as the gentleman said in the middle, go to the local centres and start to repurpose those centres, take away the redundant retail space or the surplus retail space. So we've seen that in Farnworth, a brilliant example. Stockport you mentioned. Wigan's been a little slow to this, and it needs to get into this because the combined authority that I lead is putting money into mayoral development corporations to repurpose towns, and this
it's like just the other side of Salford from Manchester. It's in it's part of Bolton Borough, actually, not well, the debate goes on, I think, around those parts, whether it's Lancashire or Greater Manchester. Where does it end?
Constituencies full of towns that could benefit. We do need the biggest council house building programme in this country since the post-war period. We do need to solve this housing crisis and get people off lists. And it doesn't mean building the homes on the green sites. Okay, there may be some development needed there. I do oppose to the Winstanley Hall development that people have mentioned. I don't think that is justified. There's zero benefit, as far as I can see, for the local community. If you look at the question of infrastructure that Michael rightly raised, this goes back to Westminster. Where's the money for this constituency to solve the flooding problem that you have in that South Hindley area? I was the MP for Hindley when new homes were being built on Blackberry Drive in 2002. Water was running through those homes before they were even occupied. They flooded before they were even occupied. I remember that. And we've still got terrible problems. Hindley Green, Platt Bridge, Abram, Ashton, flooding, serious internal flooding. And in my mind, no development on that scale goes ahead until that flooding infrastructure is in. And even then, it shouldn't be possibly as big as it's being proposed. And that is absolutely crucial, as is the road infrastructure. The congestion is
OK, well, let's just talk about the flooding.
Say,
this is just one of the many reasons, though, why we're totally not prepared for the effects of the climate crisis as a country.
The Greater Manchester Combined Authority said, right, we will come up with a solution by 2018. You became mayor and chair of that authority in 2017. Here we are, 10 years later. There is no solution. We're now hearing from the Greater Manchester Combined Authority there might be a solution in 2028. That is on your watch, Andy. Why have you not sorted that out?
No, I'm sorry. I think you need to...
You're chair of that authority.
I think your researchers need to do a bit better job on this one. The Environment Agency holds the money for flooding infrastructure. United Utilities holds
I
the
get
budget.
that.
United
but the authority
Utilities
said a solution would be presented,
people's
and they
bills
haven't.
up here by 23% last year, and they've got £800 million in profits at the same time. Where is the flooding infrastructure for this constituency? It's not the Greater Manchester Combined Authority that has the money to deal with that.
Well, then why did the Greater Manchester Combined Authority say a solution would be found by 2018? If it's nothing to do with them, why did they make that pledge?
That was before my time. I don't know who said that.
Well, you've been mayor and chair of that for many years, and there is no solution.
I have chaired a group looking at the Platt Bridge floods since those floods, and I've made the point to the authorities, how can this constituency have flooded seriously on Boxing Day in 2015 and then again on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day 2025? I remember David Cameron and his wellies in the home counties when they flooded saying, money will be no object. We will spend whatever it needs. Why does someone like that never come up here and say that to people in Abram?
So my home was flooded in 2002. I didn't see Tony Blair coming saying anything at all. At least David Cameron was there.
I've got a couple.
No, Tony Blair wasn't here.
OK, listen, I've got a couple
going through my front room.
I've got a couple of minutes left. I can't promise your questions get answered, but let's just hear what we've got to say in that 2 minutes. Yes, the woman there in the glasses. Yes, you.
I'd just like to say that if there's any cold rage that should happen, it should be directed towards the politicians that are trying to sow the seeds of... No, the ones that are trying to sow the seeds of division between us. Because we're basically being manipulated by billionaires at this point to target the most vulnerable members of our community.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that.
The man a little bit further along, yes.
So Rob said that controlling immigration would tackle the housing crisis, but how does he plan on funding and tackling immigration?
Do you want to answer that? You've only got about a minute, Rob. I'm not sure that's fair. But
a minute to answer that question. It's a tough question. It's a complex one as well, but that would be for the Home Secretary to sort. You're asking me how I would fund it. You know, Z Yusuf has worked on... So just repeat it again.
How are you planning on tackling and funding immigration?
Well, the thing is, we stopped the boats first and foremost. We stopped 1,000 people coming in.
How do you fund your arbitrary term?
No, they've turned into HMOs. Ask anyone in Wigan. I've been knocking on doors in every ward for a good few months now.
Just stop thick boats.
HMOs comes up time and time again. Those houses are driving. HMOs are driving up the cost of rent. So there's fewer houses for people to rent in this area because out of town developments are buying pubs, big houses, turning them into HMOs and renting them out to big companies to house illegal immigrants. That's a fact.
Right. I am going to look at all of you with your hands up, but we are out of time. I am so sorry. Yes, look at you guys. That was going to be your chance. I'm so sorry. I know, your kindness mustard. Anyway. We are absent. We have an hour and we filled it. I just want to say thank you very much to the panel for coming along here this evening.
It should make it a bit more. I've just realised one way to make it more entertaining and exciting on Question Time, if they just had the last 5 minutes where it's just pure heckling and they can shout whatever they want at whomever they like. Yeah, that's just how they rounded off. I think that would be a good chance for everybody to vent as well. Let me know your thoughts on that proposal, as well as what you thought about the responses from the panel there on QT. Right, that was that. So yeah, that's, I guess, as much of an update as we can give on the hot seats in Makerfield. And a score of 2 for Postman Swats in the mini game. Quite a low score. Right, people have to do another plug. I've been plugging this regularly on streams because there's not long to go now before the opening night, the world premiere of We the Hated. This is a film by Richard Felgate about Just Stop Oil, who I was a supporter of course, an action taker, etc. So really looking forward to seeing this one. That's 10th of June, simultaneous dual premiere at the Lyceum Theatre and the Showroom Cinema. Yeah, 7 p.m. The Curzon theatre date is sold out on the 11th, but you can still catch it on the 14th. In the early showing, 10 a.m. at the Lights. Go to chefdocfest.com for more information. That will be at the Sheffield Documentary Festival, of course. World premiere. And if you aren't from South Yorkshire or can't get there, don't worry. Hopefully it'll be coming to your area soon as well. Top guy, Richard Felgate, the director as well. Do check out his previous work, Finite the Climate of Change. Can highly recommend that one. So yeah, not long to go. Looking forward to that. Just checking out what you're saying in the chat, people. Yeah, I thought Sarah Wakefield did pretty well. Certainly made a good showing of herself. Where Burnham versus Kenyon is concerned, I think overall, perhaps Burnham might have come out on top on that one. He's already the bookie's favourite, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, he certainly didn't face any sort of humiliation at the hands of Robert Kenyon, so it doesn't look like that's going to make any sort of monumental change there at the moment. But let's really hope that Sarah Wakefield can get a bit of a bump, a bit of a boost from what she said. Gnome Sane Mates, good evening. Thanks for joining us. We've just finished off question time and stuff. Joining us a bit late in the game, but nice to see you nonetheless. And in fact, it is time for another shout out to the members on the channel. Yeah, if we'd have been counting the number of times Greenbelt was said, it would have been a runaway game. So yes, we're up on memberships now on tonight's stream. Thanks again for that. 139. Along with everybody else's names you can see on the screen right now. And it's just 99 pence if you want to help support the channel. There are some perks as well. You get some early viewings, you get exclusive contents. Hit the join button to find out more. But however you choose to support us, we do really appreciate it. Just a quick reminder, chuck us some hype points. If you're watching on a mobile device, please open some other recent content as well. It goes a long way to helping us out on the old algorithm. Just stay right where you are, people, because you're finishing proceedings here momentarily, but we're going to do a raid. In fact, there's if you want a bit more analysis of QT, we've got No Justice and Kevin Logan. I think we went to Kev last time, so we'll go to Helena this time. Just balance it out, that is, between the two. Ephra Wells, thank you very much for the 5 gifted as well. I'll just update the total also. Thank you very much. 144 now. Solidari-Tea for that. And the raid is locked in. And that's a wonderful way to round off the stream. Thank you very much as well for all of your other contributions and thoughts in chats, and for keeping things cordial, as and when you will do. What a great audience we've got here on My Left Eye. Yes, please continue to big up Ephra in the chat, everybody. I'd like to see her show solidarity as well. Awesome stuff. So that is almost it. There will be usual post end credit shenanigans.
And I'm getting quite near the end now of this analysis.
And another 5 coming in just as we round off as well. Davinia, thank you very much for those 5 gifted. Oh, that's very very generous of you. Do appreciate that. 149 now. Solidarity for that. And Peasants of Revolt, thank you very much for the flags. Nice. Alright then. All that remains is for me to thank you once again for your attendance. I'll see you over on No Justice in just a moment, but I've been your humble host, Lefty. This has been the Brews at 10 on My Left Eye. Power to the people. Free Palestine, Lebanon, Sudan and Yemen. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Don't watch the news. Be the news. My Left Eye will be seeing you soon. Solidari-Tea. Good night, everybody. Have a good one.
It's what Hitler and Goering did, and it is textbook. And if you think the next time it happens, we're gonna recognize it because they're wearing scary uniforms, you're out of your damn mind.